So this is going to be a big experiment. People have been asking me to film on like a real camera so that you can get the full view. So that's what I'm doing. This camera does so many things. I spent most of my weekend trying to figure out how to use it, and I still don't really know. So hopefully this goes okay. And if not, it's only going to get better. Okay. Let's see. Connie and Deborah, hello ladies. Connie, you're going to be very happy with my flower choice tonight, if that gives you a hint. But let's get into it because I told my husband I would try and make him dinner before 7 tonight. So, or start it by 7. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to be doing is making a bow using the Easy Bow Maker. I did get the deluxe, and I have yet to use it. I will be using it, and I will be demonstrating it, but for now, we're going to stick with the regular Easy Bow Maker. And I did do a tutorial today that was like an overview of how to do it. I'm hoping that's more helpful for people, because I know when I'm just doing it quick, you know, it's not really much of a tutorial. So for tonight, I am going to make this ribbon kind of quick, just so I can move along. But how has everybody been? You guys continue to keep me busy, and I love it, and I appreciate it. All the questions and comments. Loving the world of YouTube. Hey, Penny. Penny saying good afternoon. Where are you from? Because it's like 6:30 here in New Hampshire. All right, so I'm going to be making this bow, and I'm going to start with some 5-inch loops. We're going to use an 18-inch grapevine, so I don't want the bow to be much bigger than that. So I'm going to feed it through the dowel, and then I do a nice crisp twist. I struggled with using this for years, and that was the problem, was I wasn't doing like that crisp twist, because that's what really kind of like closes that loop off. So now I like to kind of like squish things down when I put it through. I also like to give it a little bit of a press. Like, this is the beauty of the wired ribbon, is that we can make it work however we want. Penny is in Tennessee. All right, thanks for tuning in from Tennessee. And Deborah, not good. Oh, back surgery. I'm sorry. I hope you've got somebody to give you lots of TLC while you heal from that. I know, I'm sure anything with like the back and all that, I'm sure that's very scary. So I will be thinking of you, and let me know how it goes. I'm sure everything will go fine, but let me know, check in after when you have a chance. All right, so right now I've made 6 of the 5-inch loops. Now I'm gonna go a little shorter, and we're gonna do some 4-inch loops. I'm gonna just see it right on my ruler. And what I like about, I like that the Easy Bow Maker, it literally makes it as easy as possible. The Deluxe, it looks like it's also going to make things a lot more simplified. But like this ribbon, I feel like on a roll doesn't look great, but I feel like when you make it into a bow, it's really, really pretty. So I'm excited to see. Connie, can you guess what color tonight's wreath is going to be? I am pretty sure she's going to get this answer correct. All right, so I'm going to do 4 of the 4-inch. Deborah from Delaware, D squared. I love that. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to be making a beautiful spring wreath tonight, and it is going to pop. All right, so now that I've done 6 of the 5-inch loops and 4 of the 4-inch loops, I am going to cut this so it's a tail. Connie says, of course, pink. Yes, you got it. And there's something else in there that you love. I'll show you very shortly. All right, so now I'm taking a separate piece of ribbon, and this is going to be the button, or like that center part of a bow. So I always want that like button to be like a juicy loop. So I like to make it at least 2 inches big. I don't really measure it. I just eyeball that. Juicy loops, juicy loops. Okay, so right now, this is the view. Okay, everything's flattened out. And before I take this off the dowel, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start to separate the loops. I'm not gonna fluff them, that's gonna be the last thing that we do. But right now, I'm just gonna start spreading them out. If I wait till the end to do this and it's already been secured with the wire, it's going to be a lot harder to move these around. So right now they're more malleable. Okay, so I'm just holding this down, and I always like to make sure that the loops are evenly distributed, especially up top, because that's the part you're going to see the most. I really don't worry about having loops where the tails are, because I feel like they're just going to get covered, and I'd rather have my tails fall flat anyways. So it's not really worth putting loops down there to me. Okay. So this is our current state. How is this camera looking? Because I was doing this before, and it looked like I was either like looking up at the sky or I was like looking down. It's not like using the phone where I can see it, so it's a different experience. I know I need a lot of practice. Okay, so this is the moment of truth, is when you take this off the dowel. So one of the benefits of the Easy Bow Maker is that if you are someone whose hands or wrists get tired, it's great because this is just doing the work for you. Unlike if you're doing, you know, a hand-tied bow from the beginning, you have to be holding it so tight. So that's one of the biggest benefits of this, I think. When you do go to take it off, though, you do need to hold it really, really tight. So if you're somebody who really does struggle with arthritis, one thing you could do would be to take like a zip tie and slide it in between the dowel underneath and secure it that way. I don't think that's the most secure way, but again, like if you have to adapt, I would say use a zip tie and have it underneath all these loops. Like you could maybe even lay it in before you start with the ribbon. Hi, Amy. Amy, I got a camera. It's an experiment. All right, so right now I'm holding this with my thumb and my pointer finger, and I have to be really careful to get this tied up before it all comes undone, because if I don't, I gotta start over. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that this wire is going where the dents were from the dowels. That tells me where the halfway point is. If you do it off sides, everything's gonna look, it's just gonna look off because you're gonna have, you know, 7-inch loops here and, you know, whatever. So here we go. So now I'm gonna start fluffing. So I usually start from the back because those are our biggest loops. All right. And I'm just going and like spreading them all out. So this is 2.5-inch wired ribbon. I only work with wired ribbon. It's just got so much stability and structure to it. So for bow making, I think it'd be hard to use something that doesn't have ribbon. So you could, I mean wire. So you could use any size, you know, like 1 inch has wire, 2-inch, 4-inch, any of that. See, I think this print becomes just so pretty when it's made into a bow. Thank you, Amy. You might be being kind because you always are, but hopefully this goes okay. And Deborah, thank you so much. I'm glad that you, oh, Sheila says so much better at full screen. I did realize though that means like I need to make sure like everything's generally clean. Like my workbench, I can't even hide the chaos. That's always going to happen. That just means I've been busy today. But what I am going to do is record some tutorials, and I think having like the full view will be really helpful. So we shall see. This camera, instead of just getting, you know, a normal camera, my husband went with me. So for this camera, if I wanted to go underwater and hunt for sharks, I could bring it because it's waterproof. If I rode a BMX bike and I wanted to do flips on it, I could do that because it would mount to my dirt bike. So this camera does a lot of things that I will never do because I don't want to die. So let's just hope that I can use it for the things that I can do, which are, you know, making wreaths. Don't need to know what's going on with the sharks. All right. So here we go. I've got a nice full bow, and I'm going to put this on a floral pick. And I jumped ahead a little bit because I haven't actually cleaned off the wreath yet, but I figured once I move the camera, it may never come back the way it's supposed to, so I will be able to just turn it towards the easel. And I'm hoping that view works out better. If it doesn't, I don't get offended. Please let me know, because I just take the feedback and then I know, you know, like it just helps me improve. So don't ever feel like giving me feedback is going to be hurtful. As long as it's said nicely. Constructive criticism. All right. So I wired this to my floral pick, and now I'm just taking my floral tape because I like to hide the mechanics. And I want to cover up that wire. All right. Thank you, Deborah. All right, I'm going to turn this camera, and I hope it just blows your mind at how smooth it's going to go. All right, let's see. Okay. I have to like wait for it to catch up, I think. Okay, here we go. Look at that. So I'm gonna start by cleaning it and then adding the hook and the ribbon. And somebody gave me great feedback because I keep struggling where this part of the wreath is getting ignored, and she recommended that, you know, I just flip it around. So that's what I'm going to do tonight, and I do think that's going to solve a lot of problems. So this is why I like designing with my fellow makers, because everyone has a lot to contribute to one another. All right, so this wreath is in pretty good shape. You know, I've got a few leaves. I want to get those out. Okay, and then we're just going to do the back side real quick. So this is an 18-inch grapevine base, and I get these from Michaels. I use like the Michaels Pro, the bulk, and they end up being less than $3.50. So you can get them in quantities of 15, boxes of 15, which, especially because the workshop season starts tomorrow, I will be going through those mighty quick. All right. Donna, I'm glad you caught me. I'd like to be more consistent so like people know when I'm gonna be live, but that's a work in progress. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my grapevine wire and I'm gonna just put it through one thick piece of grapevine, and then I'm just gonna twist the ends. Okay. And so we're just making our loop that we're going to hang it on. And I always mark it with a bow just because it disappears very quickly. And this is kind of like my North Star when designing. So I don't know if anybody saw, but TMI Gifts, they made like a really cool flyer, I guess, for this Thursday because I'm going to do a live. And I hadn't unboxed it yet. And in the flyer, it shows all the things that we're going to be using. So you can actually order them. And if you use a promo code, which is like, I think it's Cara20, then it takes 20% off. So I wish I'd known that sooner because we could have kind of designed together, but that's okay. If anybody wanted to, I mean, I'm going to record the live. So if it's going to be a lemon wreath, and it's got a sign, and it's got some really, really sweet ribbon. So if you did want to make it at a later time, then you could do that. I also had somebody mention virtual workshops. I have that on my radar now, that could be really fun. So if that's something that you might be interested in, let me know. So right now I'm just prepping my ficus, because this is always going to be the foundation. We're going to set the parameters. So I'm going to cut these two middle pieces at the halfway point. And then we have our nubbins. They've been helping lately, so keep those there. Hi, Betsy and Amy. Yes, I hope you are. I mean, it's at 3 in the afternoon. I don't know how many people will see it in real time, but I will definitely repost, you know, that day. I'm excited. I've never done a collaboration with a company like that before, so, and they just seem like super nice and enthusiastic. My kind of people. And I love their ribbons. I mean, I had been buying them anyways. I was using their stuff anyways. So I'm starting at the top, and what we're doing is we're just setting how high and how low we intend this arrangement to be, or this wreath. And then how far out. So once we do something once, OCD kicks in, and we do it twice. And what's great about this is it keeps things nice and balanced. Okay, so this is a crescent wreath. Crescent wreath means, just like the moon, it's, you know, like this part is showing, and then this part would be like the darkened part. That's not a great way to explain a crescent moon, but if you can envision it. All right, now I'm gonna put my bow in. So I'm gonna dip the floral pick in. All right, this is going to be a very, very vibrant wreath. I was feeling sassy, feeling like I wanted to do something nice and bright. So we're gonna take our tails, we're gonna dovetail them. Susan, I haven't used rose leaves. Is it, are they real? Like, are they preserved or are they artificial? I'm curious. This is going to be another thing where you guys cost me money, because everything you recommend is good, and then I go off and buy it. Okay. All right, so we've got our dovetails. Now I'm going to go in and start laying some more greenery. I just didn't want to put the bow in after it was all in and have it interfere. So this greenery is a little dark when you compare it to this lime on the bow, but we're gonna brighten it up. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Jerry's saying next level. I love that. I love that. And I swear, you guys have been giving me so many great ideas. Like, for people who, there's so many different stages. And oh my gosh, we're going to have a TED Talk about people who are designing and not opening their Etsy shop, because 2 people have sent me their designs, and I kid you not, they are so professional. I am like, I told one of the women, like, if you were here, I would shake you. I cannot believe you don't have your shop open. Like, go right now. I mean, really, really talented. And like, oh, you can't let some of those like things get in the way that, like, if you really rationalize it, you know, it'd kind of be silly to say like, oh, well, I just, you know, don't want people to laugh at me, or I don't want people to criticize me, because in the larger picture, you are going to get so much love that even if, one, it's not that likely that somebody is going to go after you for making a wreath. Okay, the wreath community is kind. But even if you did, even if something was said, it is going to be so outweighed by all the people who really appreciate your talent. So, you know, if anybody else wants to send me something, I've had people send it through Facebook ideally, just because Etsy dings you if you don't answer within 24 hours, which I pretty much, I always do, but it just makes me nervous if I miss something. So, all right, here we go. We got our first layer going. And now we're going to put some of this in. All right, so let's see. Okay, so Susan's saying rose leaves are smaller or similar to ficus. I'm going to check that out. Do you have a favorite place that you get those, Susan? Let's dish. Let's trade some craft secrets on where to get the goods. So when I was saying how dark this is right now, this beaded fern is going to totally tie it right together, because it has some of the darker green, and then it also has that lime green pop. All right, I always say don't fuss with your bow until the end, because it's just going to get squished, so I should probably take my own advice. And ficus is so inexpensive, so it's like you can really go in and lay a thick amount of foundation and then take a more expensive green like this and pepper it in. I'm going to repeat, so looking up top, right to the side of the bow. One right in the middle, kind of facing inward. And then one on the end. Is this camera angle better for people? I know you can't see my mug. That might be a positive, but I can't talk as much, or I can't like talk directly to you. But I feel like for instructional purposes, this is probably a lot easier. All right, now for the fun part, we're going to do our flowers. All right, here we go. This is our color combo tonight. I feel like I can hear Connie shouting how much she loves these colors, because these might be her favorite. And yes, Betsy, I do centerpieces, and it's funny because I have like a long one that I'm going to be making, and I had to spray paint the bottom and like the base of it gold, and now it's all dried and ready to go, so I will be working on that. All right, so when we're working with bushes like this, the name of the game is patterns. Okay, so I'm going to take into account each of these bushes has 5 stems of hydrangea. Okay, and they're not all the same. Some are full. And then there's a couple that are like really flat. So when we're placing these, we just want to keep that in mind so that we're not putting, you know, that we're actually putting things in a balanced way. All right. Oh, you can't see the bottom. Okay. Let me know about that. I couldn't tell because the chat was up. I'm so glad you told me that. I thought it was just the chat blocking it. So let's see when this catches up. There's like a delay because it's streaming directly from the GoPro. It'd be so nice if it... Okay. I think we're good. All right. So my first hurdle with the camera was getting the door of it open. I almost broke it. I then jammed it shut and couldn't open it, and I really thought I was going to throw it across the floor. Couldn't figure out how to put in the battery. I mean, it just really knocked me down a few pegs as far as how technically unsavvy I am at this point. Thank you. So Betsy loves the hydrangeas, and I think this combo is just oh so bright, and I think, or I hope, you guys like it as much as I do. I had an order over Christmas, and there's a very loving grandma, and she planted some hydrangea bushes at her lake house, and one is purple for one of her granddaughters and the other one is pink. So the assignment was to make a hanging basket that had those same colors in it. So that's what we're going to do. And once I saw everything together, I was like, ooh, that's so beautiful. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to do it as a wreath. These would work beautifully in a centerpiece. They would also work really well if somebody wanted to do window boxes. I got a request the other day for someone who, her window boxes are all covered, so you don't have to worry about rain getting in. You know, again, we'd have to worry about just like the sun, as we're always going to have to be a little cautious. But instead of replacing plants every year, I love the idea of using artificial florals, as long as they look real. Like, I'm fine with artificials. I mean, I love the real stuff too, but if you can find something that looks lifelike and it can last, I mean, I would say go for it. Like, I bought some basically like artificial boxwoods for the urns on my front stairs, and I loved them at first. And then, do you know who forgot to put UV treatment on them? Me. So they turned blue, and then they turned ugly, and I'm not even sure. I think I threw them out. So talk about not following your own advice. Jerry, I'm glad you found me too, live. I was trying to do lives like so frequently, and I'm not even kidding when I say that this, I mean, I will stop complaining about this at some point, but I literally sat at my kitchen table Saturday and Sunday just reading instructions on this camera and then watching every YouTube thing I could find, because it's for people who really know their stuff, and that is not me. So while I've been gabbing, I should have pointed out that we're doing a pattern. And this, I love patterns, especially when you don't really know where you're going, because it just all fills in. Okay, so like here, if I'm going to mirror that, I could either use like this big bloom, or, oops, not that one, or this one, okay? And if you're looking at this, I used a much flatter bloom there. So that's what we're going to do here as well. The hydrangeas, I love that you raised your hand. Yes, Miss Donna. These hydrangeas are all from Pioneer, and they have a huge array of colors, and they're all beautiful. Like these are called grape, I think. I didn't love them at first. They have to be with the right combo to look more lifelike. So once I figured that out, though, I like was over the moon with them. But initially, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know what to do with these." But they just need to be with all their hydrangea friends. That's all. All right, we have one more. And see, everything's so malleable, so you just push things out of the way so that they're where you want them to be. Okay, and now looking around the bow area, so this is one area that tends to get a little bit neglected. Okay, so sometimes I even just a little tip. If you have like nice long tails, sometimes I just curl them up and I move them to the side because I just don't want any glue to hit them. If glue should land on them, just let them dry, and hopefully it just dries in like a glob, and then you can just peel it off. So Pioneer is my go-to, and I just have to say they are amazing. I ordered the wrong colored flowers the other day, and I won't like get into the whole thing, but like they just took great care of me. It was my mistake, and I just think that, you know, they have great customer service. And if you're like me, like if you give me good customer service, like I'm going to be loyal. So I am very loyal, and their product really does speak for itself. Does anyone think that they might be interested in doing the, like getting the supplies from TMI? I'm just curious. There's no, I mean, it would be fun for me, but it's not like an affiliation. Like there's no monetary gain for me. I just think it's a cool idea. I'd love to see how everyone's comes out. Oh, Donna, you're killing me. Donna has to raise her hand because she was one of 11 children. Good Lord. Bless your mom's heart. Oh. You're cracking me up. Yes, Jerry, it is going to be this Thursday, the 8th at 3 o'clock. I will probably put out some type of reminder somewhere, somehow. I've been trying to use the community section. I don't know if it notifies people. I'm just trying to think. You know, YouTube isn't set up like, it's not set up like Facebook or Instagram that you can just share messages. And I can't tag everyone either to notify them, which I kind of get annoyed when people do those, so I maybe wouldn't have done it anyways. But I also know that people are on YouTube often because they don't want to be on Facebook. So I'm trying to figure out, like, is there a way, or would anybody ever want to share on Facebook? I mean, it takes us off this platform, which is like what I don't really want to do. All right, so I'm going in with these lavender. Okay, also from Pioneer. Everything about these is just beautiful. It's so lifelike. Like, I just love these. I love all the foliage, and I love the little heads on these. And these are going to be peppered in. Let's see. Donna's saying these would be good in blue too, and they have a really pretty blue. I think they have a few shades. I think they have like the light shade, but then they also have a shade called denim. And I'm glad you're bringing that up because I haven't really done a lot with it because it's darker than what I feel like you normally see in nature. So I have them kind of on pause, but you are giving me some great ideas. Like, look how quickly this comes together. How long have we been on for? I don't know. So I think I kind of think for Pioneer, they used to have a minimum of 300. What I think it is now is if it's maybe 100 or under 100, you get charged an extra $10. Something like that. It will tell you right on the login screen. And for anybody who's looking to like buy a lot of stuff, if you look in their frequently asked questions, there are coupon codes like automatic for if you buy over $1,000 worth of product. Then there's another code if you buy, so it's if you buy over 1,000, it's 2.5% off. If you buy over 2,500, it's 5% off. And then I forget the other one because that one is way out of my price range. But you know, the discount keeps getting like better and better. TMI is TMI Gifts, and I just learned about them this year, but they have really beautiful ribbon. I was using them for ribbon, but they do have signs. They are sending a grapevine wreath, so I'm curious about what, you know, that looks like coming from a different vendor because I've just used Michael and Joann's forever. But yeah, TMI Gifts. I've seen a lot of other makers that do collaborations with them, and I can see why now because they are very fun to work with. Okay, now I have to take the tip. I wish I could remember her name. This side won't get neglected if I turn it around. Because that consistently happens. I'm going to try not to block. I had so many comments about my Easter wreath and me blocking it with my big head. Well, they didn't say big head, but like that I blocked 90% of the video. So trying to be careful about that. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to add a little ficus. I often feel like when things are uneven, instead of going like if it's uneven on like the edges, instead of loading it up with flowers, often I think that greenery is the solution. Like tomorrow I have my first workshop of the spring season, but it's called a Galentine's workshop. And so for anyone who attends, I mean, it's step by step, but I also tell people if there's something that they don't love, I want them to tell me and I'll zhuzh it up with them. And it's like a fun exercise. You know, they kind of put their wreath on my easel and then we go through it together. I mean, if someone has had a long day, I'm definitely not going to make them do anything they don't want to do. But if someone has like a general interest, you know, I'll say like, let's bring it up and let's try and figure out like what feels off about it. So even when I'm designing, I think that's like a good practice is to, it's not like we're looking to tell people what's wrong, but I think that you're training your eye on symmetry. So like when I do the step backs, I think that's a good opportunity to say like, ew, something's bothering me like on this corner or whatever. Okay, so that woman's tip was fantastic. I can't remember her name right now, but she's amazing. Help me out. Pioneer is wholesale, so yes, you do need a business license. And we talked about this on a live recently, and I forgot. I'm in New Hampshire, and so we don't pay sales tax. So therefore, we're not responsible for getting the resale license. Pretty much any other state, I believe you do need to do that. So I have linked in some things how you register your business name through the IRS. If you Google that, be careful because the first couple things that come up are not from the IRS, so I don't trust it. If you wanted me to send you the link, I can, but always make sure it has like the .gov. Otherwise, you know, I'm sure they're trying. Everything's a scam right now. So just always be cautious that they have the right, everything looks right. And I don't go for sponsored links. The IRS is not going to be sponsoring a link. So just be cautious about where you go. But I don't think it costs anything to register your business name. I don't know if there's a fee around the resale. So what I would say is, I think it's worth getting your employer ID number, because then you can your whole world is opened up to wholesale. And it's not like you need to have a business that's like crazy booming. You just need to register your name. And even if you're not ready to do a shop right now, think about like what it would feel like if somebody else took your name because you were kind of snoozing on it. Like that would not be good. So I would take action on that and register your name. Okay, I'm just looking for something a little extra pop. Let me see. I wish I had, purple might be the only pop here. Not that it's lacking or anything. I was just thinking it would be really fun if we had something that was like a small pink accent flower, but I just don't see anything. Let's see. What about these? Are we going too far, or could we just use a couple of these buds? My instincts are saying I think a few of these might be really fun. And Penny, yes, I'll put a link in the community section. And it, it goes over what the business license is for. I really don't think it costs anything. But I do think it's important to make sure, if you have a name that you're set on, you want to make sure that you claim it. Like I had so many different names in my mind, but when you open up an Etsy shop, you're going to find that it's very hard to find a name that's not already taken, so you have to adapt. My original name was supposed to be Through the Grapevine, and that was taken like a million times over. So, and even coming to Enchanted Vines, coming to that name, it took forever, and I didn't love it at first. At this point, I do. But, sometimes in order to get started, you just have to start somewhere. And if you want to open an Etsy shop and you're getting stuck on that first stage, which is figuring out your name, you can name it whatever you want, and you can change it. You can't change it all the time, but I think like when you initially register, if you wanted to change it at least once, you could. And then after that, I would check out the Etsy guidelines, because I feel like after that, it might be like you have to wait 30 days before you can change it. Penny's liking the business stuff too. That's awesome. Like one of my favorite things is getting together with other women in business, because everyone does such different things, but at the core, there's so many similarities, like vulnerability, trying to serve the best you can. There's a lot that goes into it. But like I said, 2 women sent me wreaths to see if they were good enough. And I was like, oh my gosh, if you could see what my first wreath was. And I'm actually going to post that in the community page. If you saw how bad my first few wreaths were, and they sold. And I used to be embarrassed by it. And now I'm like, you know what? That's just kind of like, that's where I started. And we all start from somewhere. But these women were like way ahead of where I started. It's like, get your store open. I'm going to do a poll and see how many people are interested in doing their Etsy shop. Because I have to say that's just like the starting, that's like the catalyst for following your dreams sometimes. You know, I always loved doing this. I always loved making wreaths when I was like young. And I would just make them for friends and family. And then I posted a few on Facebook one night because they were for friends. And one of them was like, open an Etsy shop. And I didn't even know what Etsy was. And then fast forward to, let's see, that was 2018. And then in 2021, I left a great job with great people. It was like a almost 20-year career in HR. And now I get to do what I love like every single day. And I get to kind of decide what it is I want to do and how I want to do it. And it just feels really good. And you'll be surprised at just how supportive people are. You have to think, like, say you're a wreath maker and you can't paint to save your life, like me. I look at people who paint and I'm like, I could watch this all day. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't think I'm ever gonna learn. I just like to watch it because it's kind of fascinating. And I think there's a lot of people out there that also have a fascinating talent and they're not sharing it because they're questioning themselves. Yeah, the cabbage roses and peonies look so similar anyways, so yeah, you could easily swap them out anyways. All right, so I think this girl is done, but let's work on our bow. Okay, we gotta get this back in order. This is why I say not to bother with the bow until the end, because you're just gonna keep smushing it and moving it around and all those things. Is anyone able to tell me how long this video has been running? I'm just curious. Because I have this design that's so fast that I don't know. I think you guys would love it. It's simple, but it doesn't look simple, and it's beautiful. And I wanted to share it. I think it's just going to be so quick that you guys are going to be like, how can you charge for a wreath that took like 10 to 15 minutes? But it's all about the quality of the products and how you use them. And the more often you use them, the better you use them. So, let's see. You think to put a piece of ruffled mesh under the bow. Do you know I've never used... Oops, I just moved the camera. I've never used mesh, so you probably know more than I do. Would the purpose be to like fluff it out? You lift the bow a bit. Yeah, you know, I put this on this floor. Oh, I just broke it, but I put it on the floral pick so that it wouldn't get swallowed up, but it kind of did anyways, so I just broke the floral pick trying to get this out. So let me put it on another one, and yeah, I agree. It's getting swallowed up by all these like big blooms. So no big deal. I've still got wire on the end of this. I'm just gonna grab another pick. I'm just gonna wire this on. Wow, there's some dramatic tunes playing on here. Alright, so I'm wiring this on, and then I'm going to take my floral tape to hide the mechanics. Yeah, okay, so using the mesh can help it from getting swallowed up. So yeah, that does seem like a good idea. I like the floral pick just because it's stuff I have on hand, but definitely if you have deco mesh on hand and you can use it in other ways, I think that's fantastic. so we're gonna put this in again, but I'm not gonna go as far in. Let's see. I'm gonna dip this in the glue, put it in. I think part of it too is I put some of these like larger florals so close that it's not really giving the loops a lot of space. And I bet that's what you're saying about the deco mesh, is it like creates that barrier. So that's a good tip. You know, when you're working with pretty flowers and pretty colors, it just all comes together like so nicely. Like, I am loving this. And for anybody who does sell their designs, something like this is going to be photographed so nicely that I think it'll sell pretty quickly. I did get a question earlier about like tips for photographing. And the best thing I can say is that it's indirect sunlight. So for me, I have to do it before, I would say like 10 a.m. Because after that, if the sun is shining right on it, then you're going to get shadows, and it's also going to wash out the color. And then I can also do it from like maybe like 3 to almost 5. So sometimes I set a reminder because I'll design all day and I don't want to miss that window because then I can't list it. So I like to try and get things done all on the same day if possible. All right, what are we thinking? Let's see. Yeah, okay. Yep, so I think I just answered your question, Donna. And it gets so much easier when we have more sunlight. So the other thing I do is if I really want to get a picture, but, you know, the timing is off, I'll open up my front door and basically have the door swung on the inside so that it is in direct sunlight and photograph it that way. It's still not the best because I like to show people how it looks with the entryway. I like them to see, you know, how big it is on the door. But again, if you need to get something up, sometimes it's better to get things done than to have them be perfect. And it took me a while to accept that. Like, I didn't care for that rule of thumb at first, but now I do realize that it does make sense. Like, sometimes you have to keep moving on and not stay stuck. And you can also go back and take photos of it later. All right, so here we are. I'm gonna do, hold on, let's see. All this technology. I don't know if you're going to be able to see me. Okay. Oh, well, actually, let's clean up the back as it's like all sticking out. So we're going to take this off. This is the part that the glue was dipped in. So we're going to have to go back and add glue again. I will say that my first time in almost exactly 6 years at Etsy, I've had all 5 stars until the other day. And I think the main reason was because the moss got loose and it was loose in the box. And so I think that the customer thought it was the wreath. So I am now going to encourage you, if you do the moss, make sure that it's like fully, I've never had anybody concerned about it. I mean, I walk around with moss on my clothes, like I go out with moss on it. There's moss all over my house. But if you're sending it to someone who doesn't know, or they just don't like it, then we have to just be mindful of that, because obviously we want everyone to have a 5-star experience. So not that there's anything wrong with 4 stars. It did knock me down a peg. But that's okay. It was feedback, and so from now on, I am going to make sure that the moss is really like as secure as it can be. I'm usually pretty casual with it, just because it's moss, but live and learn. Dee says it's very pretty. Thank you, Dee. All right, so now I'm going to go back, and anywhere that we've got the stems, I still don't think you should like put your hands on this when the glue is hot. It's not worth that. It's just more of a matter of once you add the moss, if you see that some are just hanging off, pull it off and don't leave it knowing that it's going to most likely come undone. So lesson learned for me. And I just want to make sure that I'm giving you all the best advice too, so that you don't kind of get dinged over that either. The customer is always right. So we want to take the feedback and apply it so that we don't have any similar issues with future customers. All right, and somewhere I felt, so there it is. As I stabbed myself, I knew there was one somewhere. All right, so after this, well, not indoors, but the final stage is always you take your hair dryer and you go around and you try and catch any glue hairs. I always think though natural sunlight is the best way. So I think the initial step would be to use your hair dryer to get them off. But then I always take a look in the sun because I'm always like, oh wow, I totally missed a whole thing. Okay, so now I'm just going to be a little bit more thorough about patting this in. Okay. All right, I am going to move the camera this way. I have no idea where it's facing because there's like a delay between here and there. Let's just hope I'm looking in generally the right direction. But this is our final wreath. As always, last step, Krylon UV spray, and encourage your clients that they might want to get a bottle so that every year they can keep their wreath looking fresh and beautiful. Okay, now it's catching up so I can see where I am. Okay. So let me know what you guys think. This was really fun. I feel like this came together very easily with all these beautiful colors. So I thank you for tuning in. I'm really, really so grateful for all the positive feedback and all the questions and ideas on, future tutorials or, videos or all that stuff. So please keep it coming. And I hope you guys